his deal. I know he's a pretty
Yeah.
good ball player. He's a good
Yeah,
outfield. He was with the Pirates.
Yeah,
The years that they,
with Bonds.
yeah, and
yeah.
they contested with the Braves at that time, and the Braves
Mhm.
always seemed to come out on top. And then
Yes, they
Bonilla
did.
went free agent and he went to the Mets.
Mhm.
So did he sign that contract? Was that an original contract?
Well,
or was
I
that down
think
the road?
I think the way it worked was, well, first of all, he gets $1.19 billion every July 1. He started it in 2011. The contract started in 2011. It goes through 2035, when Bonilla will be, I believe, 72 years old.
Right.
2034, 2035, something like that. Anyway, in the infinite wisdom of the Mets, who were very confident in their contract they had, I guess you call it that, with the infamous Bernie Madoff, they were feeling very confident that that would be no big deal. But we all know how that didn't work out too
Right.
well. So I believe it was they owed him. Let me see here. They owed him like a little over $5 million is all they owed him.
Right.
When they parted ways in 2000, I think it was, when they signed this agreement. So why they would do something like this, I have no idea.
Yeah, deferring a contract's one thing, but to take it into,
Yeah.
what was it, a 40-year? It had to be like a 40.
Yeah. Well, it was 25 years. So here it is, 5.9 million they owed him, and they agreed to make annual payments of 1.19 million for 25 years. It's like I don't, as somebody who runs a
Kicking
very
the can.
Yeah, as somebody who runs a very small business compared to these guys, I don't know how you make a decision like that, but I guess they were very tight with Bernie, and
they knew that they were going to have plenty of cash flow.
They were promised that they were going to make all kinds of loot with that scam of an investment there, and that's so sad what happened to so many people there. But again, they agreed to do it, and so it would run through, I think, 2035.
Yeah.
So so when Steve Cohen bought the Mets a few years ago, he decided to embrace it, which I kind of like. He's a lifelong Mets fan, and he calls it Bobby Bonilla Day now,
right,
every July 1.
And 1.1 to them right now is like, that's nothing.
It's
like you're not getting anything for it. I mean, 1.1 for sitting on the couch or whatever Bobby does at this time, is not bad.
Well, that's like $5 in our pocket,
Right.
So here's another little known fact. I thought this was interesting when I was reading that. There's another deal that somehow the Mets and the Orioles got into together that pays him Bonilla another $500,000 a year.
Oh, good.
For 25 years. Oh, good. That began in 2004, and that runs through 2029.
Okay.
So I got to tell you, I don't know what he's going to do after that. So I don't know if it's a testament to how smart Bobby Bonilla is, or how savvy he was, or his agents were savvy, or just Mets stupidity. And I can tell you again, as a lifelong Mets fan, Mets stupidity is just a normal thing. It has been for a long time, with just very few exceptions.
Well, you're playing 500 now, 500 ball.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, because
500 ball for is that what's the payroll now? 1 point something billion.
They're still no. They're still leading Major League Baseball because they have the Scherzer and Verlander contracts that haven't come off yet, and a few other bad moves.
Seemed like a good idea at the time. But I mean,
it did.
For those of us who grew up, in the 70s, that was kind of a slogan that we used. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Hasn't really panned out for them, but they're in a kind of
I like
building.
I like their team kind of, but their bullpen right now is so porous, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad bullpens out there.
I mean, they had what was the score last night in the ninth inning? They had like a 7-run lead, and they just barely hung on and won again.
Oh wow, yeah.
So they got some problems. They got a couple of guys they lost for the whole year and whatnot. But look, here's the bottom line. And I just spent time in Philadelphia and New York. And I ran into both Yankee and Philly fans.
Right.
And the guy checking my bag on the carousel going through security, he looks at the shirt I was wearing and the hat. They were both Mets. And he goes, "Wait, you're a Mets fan?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You got to go to the back of the line." And then he started laughing. And, look, at the Phillies and the Braves are better than the Mets. That's just the way it is. Until they prove different, the Phillies and the Braves are better. And they've had smarter people running their organizations. The Phillies have Dombrowski. Dombrowski, who's a great proven GM, and the Braves have the best, I think, the best GM in baseball, in Anthopoulos. This guy just, I mean, it doesn't matter what
He's
happens.
Had the magic touch the last couple of years.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, they didn't even really lose Freeman, and then they go and I think it was a minute later they got, I'm forgetting his name.
When Freeman's agent didn't want to sign, I think Anthopoulos made the first move and said, okay, well, we're just going to get Olson, because he had to have somebody.
Yeah, and
he got a good one.
Now, is he Freddie Freeman? No, but he's pretty damn good. I got to tell you that. So I want to just mention how it reminded me of the Ohtani contract, Shohei Ohtani that the Dodgers just signed. And again, I'm a peon, and next to these guys who run these big businesses, I don't know anything. But I just don't understand how you sign anybody to, and I'm a capitalist. I don't care about the money. Please understand that. I'm not complaining about the dollars involved. God bless them if they can make the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the market calls for it and pays it, take it. I'd take it too, wouldn't you? So they signed Ohtani to a $700 million contract, 680 million of which is deferred.
Right.
Okay. So he's going to start. He's only collecting $2 million a year right now. Yeah. Right. At age, in 2034, he'll start collecting $68 million a year. He'll be. Oh, I don't know. No. I don't have that. But he'll be collecting $68 million a year beginning in 2034. I can't even imagine this guy. That's 10 years from now.
I think probably the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are counting on Jesus coming back before then, because
unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a crazy contract for him. That just shows you how much he wants to win a World Series or two.
You mean the Dodgers?
No, I mean him. Why would you take only $2 million for a couple of years?
I'll tell you why. I would do the same thing. If the Dodgers said, we're going to give you $700 million, but we're going to defer $680 million of it, and you can start collecting $68 million a year beginning in 2034. I know. First of all, you got $2 million a year salary right now. And I also know the endorsements this guy is going to get, or is already getting, being in Los Angeles. So that's like, if you're in LA or New York, you're going to make a ton of money on your name, on your reputation. So you can afford to have that money sitting there. I mean, that's an awesome deal.
It's crazy. 2034, anyone who says, oh, it'll be here before you know it, I don't know. That's a good ways off to be making. He could have easily had anyone paying him $20 million a year at the front end of that.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, he wants to win a couple of World Series.
Yep.
So he takes a little bit less.
Well, then he
got less money.
He should have signed with the Braves or the Phillies then, because think about the Dodgers, that for all how good they've been lately, they've only won the one World Series. It wasn't that in the strike shortened season.
Yeah, but I mean, they got
COVID shortened season.
Yeah, they definitely got the team to win.
No, they do. Now they lost Betts. Their pitching staff is decimated. Ohtani can't pitch till next year.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
But when he signed the contract, they were the best looking team, not just on paper. But when you get between the lines, they were the best looking team.
I think so. I'm not faulting the guy for signing there, but there's no given. And to your point, why would you defer? Why would you accept such a deferred amount of money as tomorrow's not promised to any of us?
Right.
I'm sure he's got clauses in there that money would still be paid to his wife, his children, his family, whatever. Right. The Dodgers are going to be paying no matter what, unless of course the apocalypse happens and Jesus does come. Other than that, they're paying.
Right. So, and I'm just glad he didn't go to the Mets or the Phillies. Being a Braves fan, that division, I definitely didn't want him, because he's showing right now, even without being able to pitch, how valuable. When Betts got hurt, he started hitting leadoff.
Yeah.
And he's just cranking out home runs. He can steal bases. He does it all.
The guy's a freak.
Yeah, he really is, and just humble, and everyone loves him. So you can't beat it. You gotta pull for the guy.
Well, not for this podcast, I think, but I do not believe that he's innocent and he didn't know that his interpreter.
Well, that's because you're a skeptic. I mean, you're a born cynic, and so am I.
No, it's also because I'm a realist.
The people that know him when they go on road trips, he doesn't even go out to eat.
Larry, he didn't know that his interpreter was gambling his own money.
He's too busy hitting home runs.
I see. Okay, you can play the other side of this all you want,
Right.
and that's fine. That's
Like
fine.
You and I don't know
for a second,
but you and I don't know him.
we
The
don't.
people that know him,
Yeah,
the people that know him,
yeah.
know
The people that know him have every interest in protecting him. He's the cash cow.
I'm talking about players, not the ownership. I'm
The
talking
ownership-
about guys who play with him every day, who are on the road with him. If they go out to the casino, go to the horse track, he doesn't have anything to do with it.
That's fine.
So also,
that's fine.
Where's he from?
He's from Japan.
He's from Japan. Okay.
So what does that mean?
That means, do you bet on football?
I don't care.
Japan?
Look at. What I'm saying to you is,
I thought we weren't going to talk about
the Los Angeles Dodgers and Major League Baseball have every interest in the world, every reason in the world to protect him. He's the cash
cynic.
That's right. So I don't.
You want to believe the worst about people? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want to believe that Major League Baseball and the Los Angeles Dodgers are protecting.
Oh, I'll always believe the worst about Major League Baseball.
So there you go.
Point in time.
So there you go. So listen, this is what I'd like to do now. Is I'd like to talk a little bit about your brother. And so for those of you who don't know, Larry's brother, big brother, Dick Howser, Richard Howser, was a Major League Baseball player and also a manager for the Yankees and the Royals. And as soon as Pete, our buddy Pete, told me Larry Howser, I said, Howser? I knew the name immediately from many years ago. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about your brother Dick.
Yeah, he was 18 years older than I was. So he was off to FSU, off to college, when I was a couple of months after I was born. He was the first ever All-American at FSU. His junior and senior years, he led FSU to regionals. I think they played in the College World Series his junior year, but he hit over 400. He just had, phenomenal hand-eye coordination for one thing, really good speed and a great arm. But he broke into the big leagues in 1961 with the Kansas City Athletics. The A's were still in Kansas City at the time. He had a really good year. He hit 280, had 171 hits, scored 108 runs, and stole 37 bases. He made the All-Star team that year. That year, they still had 2 All-Star games. They had an All-Star game in Boston, Fenway Park, and then one in San Francisco.
Did they?
Yeah, 2 games.
Why was that?
That's the way they used to do it. I think
that's before my time.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
They wanted a game in an American League park and a National League park, and that was the standard for it. That'd be interesting to look that up and see when they stopped doing that. It might have been the next year, but so he had a good year in '61. He finished second in the Sporting News All Rookie of the Year voting, and then he finished first at Topps when they had the baseball cards were a big thing. They also had a Rookie of the Year, and he won the Topps Rookie of the Year award. So the following year, 1962, he was playing shortstop. He played 162 games that first year. So the next year, he was covering second base. Louis Aparicio was with the White Sox. Louis Aparicio was a heck of a ball player.
He really was. I remember him.
Looked it up, some of his stats. Between 1956 and 1961, 9 straight years he led the American League in stolen bases. So they were the go-go White Sox at the time. That they didn't score a lot of runs, but they ran the bases.
Small ball.
Yeah, bunted a lot. All that, the way baseball was at one time. Anyway, Aparicio was stealing second. My brother was covering on the throw, and the ball and Aparicio got there at the same time, and it broke my brother's thumb on his glove hand. So he was out for the rest of the year. They had to put a couple of pins in there. And I just remember him saying that it really affected him for the next couple of years because your thumb, it's so important in any sport, golf, tennis, but in baseball especially, your glove hand, gripping the bat. It took him a while to rebound. And he was traded to.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What was his natural position?
Oh yeah, shortstop.
Shortstop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they moved him around a little bit, or
well, at the end, in the middle part of his career, yeah. But he played short. As a matter of fact, when he went to Cleveland, in '64, I believe it was. He finished second in the league to Tony Oliva in runs scored. So in '60, he had a pretty good year in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But then after that, yeah, he was more of a utility guy. And then finally, his last year playing, 1968, he was with the Yankees. That was the Yankees team that was managed by Ralph Houck.
Yeah.
And Bobby Cox played third base on that team. He was the starting third baseman on that team. And Frankie Crossetti had been the third base coach for the New York Yankees for 29 years.
Wow.
So all during the 50s and 60s, Frankie Crossetti was there at third base coaching. And he was going to retire, but it was the expansion year. So the Padres came into the league, and Crossetti lived in San Diego, so they made him an offer, and he went to San Diego and coached third base there for 1 year before he retired from baseball. But the opening came up at third base, and Ralph Houck was pretty fond of my brother, and he told him, this is a good opportunity for you. You've been 29 years old now for the last 3 or 4 years, because that was a big deal back then. You didn't want to be 30. But, with the opening coming up, so my brother took it, third base coaching job. So he coached third base from 69 all the way through 77. So those years that the Yankees were winning the pennants in 76, 77, 78, and then the World Series in 77 and 78 against the Dodgers, he was there at third base. So when Reggie hit the 3 home runs, in Game 6, he was right there.
You were there too, weren't you?
No, I was in Chicago at the time, actually.
Okay.
Had just moved to Chicago. Interesting. This is my favorite Bobby Cox story. My wife and I had been living in Chicago for a few months, and the Yankees came into town. This was 1978, which for you Yankee fans from way back, that was the year that the Yankees were 14 and a half games behind Boston. And that was in August, and they managed to catch Boston, pass them. They had the 1-game playoff in Fenway. That was the Bucky Dent
home run. Yeah.
Bucky effing Dent.
Yeah.
But we were in Chicago. The Yankees came into town to play the White Sox, and they would come in and sweep the White Sox. I mean, the White Sox were, mediocre team at best, but pretty good Yankee team. So anyway, it was a night game, and my brother told me, we're going to meet up after the game, but you've got to come to this certain door. It's an exit only door from the locker room. It's not the main door from the locker, visiting clubhouse. So, it was like G30 or whatever. So my wife and I, Jamie, we went over and we waited by that door, and it pretty inconspicuous, no way to get in. So as the stadium began to clear out, one of Chicago's finest came up and said, "Hey, you need to move along here. It's time to go home." I said, "Well, my brother's with the Yankees, and he told me to meet him here. Otherwise, we won't be able to hook up." And so he cut me some slack at first. Second time through, it's starting to empty out, and he says, "You really need to move along." I said, "Well, like I explained to you, my brother's with the Yankees." So again, he wandered off. Came back. Well, now it's the third time. So I'm going under for the third time.
He's not believing you now.
Well, he said, the stadium is basically empty.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I said, like I told you, my brother's with the Yankees. And he said, "I don't care if your brother is Babe effing Ruth. You're out of here. It's time to go. You're leaving." And being 22 years old, I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Oh, yeah." And he put his hands on me. I was going to Cook County Jail for the evening, which would really not have.
That would have sucked.
Yeah, especially for my wife, having to bail me out. Just as he puts his hands on me, it says, basically, I'm going to jail. The door opens, and it's Bobby Cox, who I'd never met before. And he says, "Hey, Larry. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, come on in." So the cop lets me go, and I go into to the Yankee, the visiting locker room. So basically, Bobby kept me from going to jail that would have been like my third time, I guess.
Well, you should go thank him.
I have. And I remind him of it, but yeah, he was there, when I needed him, but just a great guy. We talked a little bit about it before, but Bobby Cox is just
the only time I briefly met Bobby Cox, obviously I don't know him, but I was on a sales call up at Barnsley Gardens in Adairsville, which is a big golf club resort that he's, I think, been a member at for a long, long time. And I was with two other guys who knew nothing about baseball, and we're offloading some carpet cleaning machine up the back of a minivan and come down the sidewalk towards us. I just glanced to the right, and I just knew the walk.
Right.
Just because you've seen him so many times, go to the mound. Yeah, exactly. And I looked at the walk, and I'm going, and he's coming closer. And that's Bobby Cox. And those guys look at me and they go, who? And I just walked away from them and I walked towards him slowly. They won't think I'm crazy.
Right.
And I said, Bobby Cox. He said, yes. And he smiled, shook my hand. I said, hey, I'm a fan. And you know, he was just so gracious.
Oh, he is. He's a great guy.
We didn't
hope he's doing well.
We didn't talk about all that stuff, but he could have easily blown me off like Pedro Martinez did to myself, my wife,
and like Lou
and a couple of
did
our kids down
and my nephew.
You know, we were down there in Port St. Lucie when Pedro was held a little longer in spring training one year, and he was the only guy there, and he couldn't bother. Right. And, you know, he was a great player.
Yeah, you remember stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. You do. You know, I remember when Walt Frazier walked away from us because the crowd, you know, he was one of my idols growing up.
Right.
It was at Monmouth College, I think, in New Jersey, when where the Knicks used to train.
Right.
They played a game against the old Baltimore Bullets, and with Wes Unseld and those guys, and everybody was pushing and shoving, and Clyde just said, hey, stop, you know, calm down, and I'll sign everybody. And they kept doing it. He got in his Rolls Royce and he drove away.
Well,
you'll never forget something like that.
Yeah, you can't blame crowded, you know. But if you approach someone and, you know, they're by themselves, they're through with dinner, you know, you don't want to interrupt someone's dinner.
Exactly. So listen, what I'd like to do is, as we wind this down, is I'd like Larry, say a couple things about you and what you do now, and how you entertain the folks in the area.
Yeah, my buddy and I, you know, Pete, he's Podcast Pete, and he kind of set me up with a gig early on where I hosted a comedy event at our church. So now what I'm doing is I'm entertaining seniors. It's clean comedy. We do a few jokes, few songs, things that the seniors can really relate to, you know. And it really looks like it's going to take off. So far, the reception's been good. But we're out there. We're hitting. I'm available for weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, and public hangings. So.
And I think you're being a little modest. He is. I saw him on his debut show.
Oh my gosh!
My wife and I were there.
Debut.
And he was funny. He was very funny. And I didn't know who you were at that point.
Right.
And also, he's a heck of a singer, by the way.
Yeah, baby. We'll come out and do some tunes for you.
You did a Frank Sinatra number there. That was really good. I mean, for a second, we're sitting there, and I thought it was piped in, and you were lip syncing.
No, come on.
That's what I. For a minute, I thought you were doing that. Yeah. So there's kudos to you.
What brand hearing aids do you have?
Yeah, right. So I think I need some soon anyway. So anyway, for the people who might be listening, Larry, why don't you read off your phone number?
Oh, there it is. Give me a call. 404-993-7431.
You want to give any email address? Does that matter?
I'd rather give me a call or shoot me a text. That would be better. We're getting a new email set up, so that'll be specifically for the entertainment part of it. And until then, just give me a holler, leave a message, because I'm a busy man. Jim knows how busy I am.
It's tough being retired and doing whatever you want, right?
Right. Yeah. You know, you got these demands. You know, you got a dog.
Yeah. Wow. Geez.
Kids. I got 10 grandkids. So, you know, I've got should I do this joke?
I don't think it's a joke. I was going to say, I don't think anybody cares about your grandkids.
No, they don't. Not on the baseball. I tell you what. No, that's okay. Because I got a 7 and an 8-year-old. Let's see. 6 and an 8-year-old out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I tell you, they're a couple pretty good ball players. I'm liking the way they look. I'm going to call the Mets here in the next couple of days and make sure they're scouting.
Isn't that where Nimmo's from?
Yeah, he is.
Brandon Nimmo?
Yeah. Didn't even have a high school team.
Yeah.
Played summer ball.
Yeah. absolutely.
That was it.
Yeah.
And he's in the big leagues now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, good. Hope your grandsons keep on playing. So.
Yeah, I hope they can get one of those deferred contracts.
Yeah.
Maybe if sign them now, they can
Yeah.
be getting paid when they're 22.
All right, enough out of you. It's my turn.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So I'm Jim with Ridley Commercial Cleaning. So we clean the commercial space, any commercial building, we clean it, almost any. My phone number is 404-309-6093. My email address, Jim@Ridley, that's 2Ds, LLC.com. If you would like a free, no obligation estimate, I'd be happy to come out and see you. I've been doing this for a really long time, and it's scary to think it's like 48 years now. I've been in this industry. So if I can be of service to you, even if you just want to have a,
can you get this stain out of my shirt? It's a coffee stain.
I said well, yeah, you know what? I probably could actually. Yeah. So that's it. We're the baseball guys. We hope you somehow, in some way, enjoyed this two babbling idiots. And, we look forward to seeing you on a future podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye now.
See you.